Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
So I hear the Ren Fair's in town.
The Ren Fair is in town, and in fact, I just came from the Ren Fair.
How was that? Did you have a good time?
Yes, I did. I bought something that I think every man should now own, and it's something that I've been wanting for quite some time. And no, it's not a battle axe. I already have one of those. It is a kilt. I'm very happy that I finally bought an actual full-blown kilt instead of making my own.
What's under your kilt?
I can imagine.
Yeah. Got it from Tilted Kilt. They are not a sponsor. None of that. They make awesome stuff, though. Looks great on me, my wife said, so I'm very happy. I also, when I got here, my brand new glasses came in. So now I'm just sitting here talking to you guys. Yeah, I have a sunburn. So I have a sunburn. I'm wearing a kilt, and I have brand new glasses, feeling like a brand new man. Talking on the Squad Games podcast with the beautiful men. We have Giacomo, we have Chris Baki, and we have Orion Wilfing with us today. What's up, fellas?
It seems he's been replaced by a goat.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, who hasn't been replaced by a goat at this point? That's the true question.
I'm a black sheep, sir.
Oh, my bad.
Well, hopefully we don't upset you with your violent temperament.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna get to those things today. But first, let's talk about a few other things before that drops.
So, did you guys see that the Gallowfall sold out on Games Workshop's website in like 5 minutes?
I think everybody has shown us that. I've seen posts left and right. We're like, what happened? Why is GW doing this?
So there's a rumor of reason why. The rumor, all rumors are false until Games Workshop says they're not rumors. The rumor is that Games Workshop over the past few months has been printing nonstop 10th edition boxes because they're awfully terrified that this edition will sell out like 9th edition. If anyone's unfamiliar, when Indomitus dropped, it sold out in a day. And that was every single box set that ever came out. And people were so upset that they released them a month later and people could order it for 2 weeks. And that's what they're doing this year. But they're also trying to make sure that every single person that wants one of these boxes can get it. So because of that, other products are not getting printed as much as they possibly should be. And that's the rumor of why Gallowfall got shortcut.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds reasonable. I mean,
yeah,
rumors are just facts without the commitment. So
That's exactly.
Sorry, Lion players.
Yeah,
get in line. Terminators are first.
Terminators and NIDS.
Terminator Kill Team 1? Question mark.
Oh man, dude, you're busting my balls. That's what I wanted. And it wasn't this release. Instead, we got something else, which is maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, it was. Speaking of the sellout, it was pretty funny that at the start of the day, I was talking to my LGS owner. We were running a tournament yesterday, and he was talking about how he was surprised that the box sold out so quickly. And then later on in the day, he's like, "Yeah, I've actually started getting calls from just random people in the area trying to find a store that will pre-order the box still." So at this point, like everything is already spoken for LGS pre-orders too now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was at LGS yesterday up in New York, and they were trying to talk to the people like, yeah, so we're out of the boxes, but maybe we could try to get you guys some French ones? Maybe? I was like, yeah, sign me up. I want it.
Yeah.
When you played your model,
I'm lucky that I have a... Yeah, I know, right?
You have to play the team in French using the French rules to buy the French box, I'm pretty sure.
Oui, go, the berber.
Petite Space Marine.
A baguette and a knife, butter. I don't know how to speak French, obviously.
Oh, wow. That was really
You
impressive.
nailed the accent, though.
Ménage à trois.
I've played.
We're very sorry, French folks.
I've played D&D before. Going back to our role-playing comment. No, I have a local game store that knows that I'm a kill team guy, and they were like, "Oh, if we get one, we already put your name down." I was like, "All right, cool."
Radical.
So I got lucky. I got lucky on that one.
Helps to know people, that's for sure.
It does. It does. So this past weekend, we didn't get to talk to you guys about it, but there was a lot of reveals that happened for Warhammer Fest. Not the stuff that we're going to be talking about today, but like a lot of stuff got revealed. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone was expecting yet another Space Marine kill team. That's
No.
pretty crazy.
It's awesome.
And especially in the Space Marine Heroes packaging, look, I'm a firstborn purist, right? I won't go Primaris. And one thing I love about this new team is it's actually going to let me use all my firstborn goons with all the crazy different layouts and have a good rule set that works for them. So I'm actually really, really excited for Justine to come out. I have a lot of questions as far as exactly how the rules will be available and how that's going to work. And I had no idea about how balance is going to work for it too. But I'm very, very excited. It's a fun addition to the game, and I think it's sort of that finishes that holy trinity of different Space Marine team archetypes.
Absolutely.
So, I think in the Warcom article that they released for it, the rules I think come per like booster box essentially. So everybody just has their own rules, and the rules you get is come with the model. So I think that's why it's like an easy to build kill team, because you essentially buy the rules in like, was it fifths? Because there's 5 of them.
I think there's 7 total options. Now I've heard people speculating that it would be a 7 operative team, and I don't know how much stock I put in that. It sort of harkens back when Nakmend was being previewed, and there were 10 legionaries, and there was some speculation, which I didn't agree with, that you could take 10 legionaries in the team because everything in the box you're taking in the game. Obviously there were 6. I would expect that Strike Force Justine is probably 6 operatives, maybe 5, if the captain is super super awesome.
That's what I'm thinking.
That'd be a cool thing to do, or maybe the captain takes 2 slots. I don't know.
That's my exact thought, Chris, is that the captain will probably take 2 slots because you're going to have a plasma pistol hitting on 2s and a power fist hitting on 3s. Probably with extended wound characteristics and with an invulnerable save because of his Iron Halo. I for sure seeing that model taking up 2 slots.
Well, would there be an option not to take him? Is there another leader option like in the packages?
There's a sergeant.
I haven't quite looked at the model.
Yeah, there's a sergeant. Yeah, instead of the which is cool because the Grenader for this pack is an intercessor rather than an intercessor assault intercessor, and then the sergeant is the shooty version. So
that's neat. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff for that, and that's one of the teams I'm most excited about. Not the most, but yeah, that'll come. I'm sure both of you already know. Before we move on, there are probably some new listeners, and while both of you have been on the podcast before, I would like to introduce both of you. Now, everyone that's listening does know me and Giacomo and the Squad Games podcast. We are affiliated with the Frontline Gaming Network, and if you guys want to go to any tournaments this year that Frontline Gaming is running or get any secondhand models, if you use our affiliate link, we do get a kickback, and that does help out us as content creators. We do get a small kickback from that. Now, Chris Baki and Orion have both won major tournaments. They're both amazing players and awesome dudes. Chris, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Chris Baki. I've been playing Kill Team, this edition of it, since it came out. I've competed in a number of events. I've TO'd for a few events. And overall, I just have a passion for this game and this community. And I run the Bay Area Tournament Squad, which is a North California area Kill Team community. And if you're in the area, definitely hit us up.
Yeah, and I'm Orion Wolfong, one of the members of Plaza Spam on the East Coast. Also done a lot in tournaments. We one of the founders of KTO. Just do a lot of Kill Team and Kill Team accessories. Just in it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, his brother, Troy, he makes some awesome shirts. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, shout out to Leviathan.
Absolutely.
Leviathan Apparel, man. That dude is lit. Leviathan, right?
Yeah, Leviathan.
Oh, sorry. Leviathan.
Yeah.
Leviathan, sorry.
Oh, you're good. You
know more than me. Trust me. He's your brother.
I cherish all of my shirts from both Kill Team Open 1 and 2. They're my favorite shirts to wear while I'm playing Kill Team because we have our team jerseys, but I got to have something with sleeves under them so I don't look like a degenerate. And my Kill Team Open ones are my default go-tos for that.
Let me ask you this, Chris. Do you love it so much that you're wearing it right now? Because I am. I can take a picture of myself and send it to you.
What a one-up.
Oh, all right, yeah, you got me there. I'm wearing my Atlantic City Open shirt right now. So
AC,
you got
okay.
me. Yeah.
Okay. ACO is a lot of fun. Are you going back this year? That is another FLG tournament on the East Coast.
I know. I love ACO. ACO is what triggered my love for playing competitive Kill Team back many, many years ago. And in fact, my first competitive Kill Team game ever was against Orion Wilfong.
Oh, wow. You're lucky.
Little baby Chris just going at it and having no clue what he was in for. And boy, did I get a whooping. But sadly, I won't be able to make it this year due to a lot of summer travel plans. But I am bummed because I do love it, and I hope I can get back to it next year.
Are you going, Orion?
I mean, I could. The bigger problem for me is I would have to take off work. I want to go by all means, but I'd have to take off work, and with it being potentially a golden ticket event, because it's still questionable right now, I'd rather leave that space open if I were to play any like teammates or good friends. I'd rather let other people compete for it.
Okay.
Rather than try to get another golden ticket for no reason.
Is Janice and I know Nick Craven is going from Plasma Spam, and are the Garrett brothers all going as well?
I believe so. I'm pretty sure the Garretts are out to conquer the ITC leaderboard. So they're going, head first into every event possible. Awesome. I think they're trying to dethrone Spain, possibly. Mm-hmm. They're doing a good job of it so far. But
you hear that, Ace? Americans are coming for you and your team.
Specifically, two children.
Yeah, 2 children. 2 really good children. I lost
America's future.
I lost to both of them at KTO. They are both very good.
They are both murder machines indeed. Great guys. Both the Garretts. Yeah.
Some people might ask, Dakotah, did you let children beat up on you just to make them feel better? But no, I didn't. They beat me fair and square. They beat me handily. They're quite good.
Oh, yeah, no, they're merciless.
If you even think about pulling a punch against Liam, the younger one, you will get eviscerated. And he plays it up, too. He knows exactly how to manipulate people and play the kid card. And if you let that work on you, oh, man, you are in for a world of hurt.
No, yeah, they were awesome. They were awesome to play against. Yeah. So that's very nice of you not to go and win, Orion.
I mean, I'm not saying I would win. I'm sorry. That may sound very, very bolsterous.
Save some for the other guys, Ryan. We appreciate it.
I apologize. No, you are correct. That is very bolsterous of me to say.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying. But
is he wrong?
Not you. No, I don't think he's wrong.
It's one of the things where there is a possibility where I could do well. I know I would do reasonably well. But it's one of those things where if I played somebody I knew, I wouldn't want to hurt their tournament run. But like I also spent money to be there. Yeah. So it's just not quite a reasonable thing for me to go to. Especially since ACO tends to only be the tournaments and nothing else. Like there's no vendors really. There's no like any of the cool side projects or like I think there's some painting competition, but I think it's generally one of the more limited events to go to of the FLG lineups.
Travis Chang and the Brooklyn Rats are running that event, right?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Travis Chang is running it. He's an excellent guy, excellent TO.
He is.
Not to mention an excellent player. That guy. One of the most savage individuals on the East Coast. Truly, I look forward to every single time I get to play him. Really, really great guy.
Yeah.
You're in good hands going to that tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. He even came out to the All Valley Team Tournament, which is coming up. And are the both of you coming to that? That's in Southern California.
I definitely am. And not only am I going, a lot of bats are coming. We're trying to field 3 squads. So we're putting that together. It looks like maybe just 2, but potentially 9 people from the team are going to be coming down. So
awesome.
That's pretty big.
We are looking to have all bats teams podium. That's the plan.
There we go. Now, Orion, are you coming down? Because you might upset the bats' plan with that.
I might be upsetting the Bats' plan because I'm pretty sure I'm coming down as well.
Oh no, I heard
boy.
no, Ryan. I heard there's a different event you're going to actually that same weekend. So I don't think you're actually going to be available.
Now, in all fairness, I won't have my team with me because it seems like most of my teammates can't make it. But I might have a surprise fill-in to help me out in the event.
Awesome.
Which will be very interesting. And if it works out, it's going to be very exciting.
Watch it be someone from Bats.
I'm scared already.
No, that's awesome. Thank you both for at least attempting to come or coming to the AVTT. It is mine and Giacomo's and Saya's biggest event. We have two really big events this year. It's the All Valley Team Tournament and the West Coast Championships for Kill Team. So if anyone is looking to go to an awesome tournament, I would suggest one of those two, and you can find more stuff about that on lustersworkshop.com. But moving on from that, there was Ashes of Faith dropped.
Oh, yeah.
My guys, I never thought I'd leave the Vet Guard train because of all my action heroes, but now I don't have to.
All right, so I come from most of my time playing 40k as a Word Bearers player, right? Word Bearers, Chaos Legion, lots of cultist horde. Blooded I liked because that was the closest Kill Team could give me. That was going to be something similar. But now with this new Chaos cult, oh my God, I had no idea this was coming, and I could not be more excited to have a horde of shambling cultists and their sinister cult leaders, and oh my God, that team just seems so cool. I cannot wait to get my hands on it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that mechanic is going to work too, how the models will transform into the bigger ones, or if it's only for narrative. I'm quite excited. I think that they should be in the normal game, but who knows, right? Because they initially teased it as a narrative box, and at the very end of the Twitch thing, they're like, if you want to play competitive, you can play too.
I'm hoping, fingers crossed that it's not like locked, most of it to narrative, and like it's like rare equipment or something, and narrative stuff is all where all the cool rules are. That would be a pretty big bummer.
That would be a bummer.
Yeah,
I doubt that'll happen.
Yeah, I sort of doubt that too. My real question is what the team comp is going to look like, because if you look at all the models for Chaos Cult, right? I think there's 10 Chaos Cultists, there's 5 Dark Commune, and then the box of the other what is it called? The Accursed Torments or something like that. There's 8 in that box. Now, if you add that up, I'm not a mathematician, but I hit 23. Which means that I don't know if it's going to be like a Gellerpox situation where you take some of them and not others. I don't know if like when you have your muster, you pick some of the demons or pick more of the cultists or how they may change during the game. I don't know.
And it says they evolve, right? So they wouldn't be, I don't think, starting on the roster.
It's a Pokemon team for sure.
Wacky shit. Yeah.
I mean, we will see, I suppose.
Absolutely. Now, could we? Now, me and Orion were talking earlier, and we had an amazing hobby idea for this team. I just came up with another one. You just put Ash Ketchum and all the other Pokemon trainers, and then everyone else is just a Pokemon that evolves into their later form later on the line. Not as good as ours. Orion, do you want to say drop this, or do you want to keep this secret and drop it at one of these big events?
I mean, yeah, I kind of feel like I want it. Well, I mean, we can talk a little bit about it. It's fine. All right. Because again, it was quite the love child. Because looking at the models, I was talking to Dakotah, and I was like, oh man, it would be really cool. Like, I had this idea, and I'm like, I've been wanting to make a food themed army for a while. Because I'm a chef, I like messing with food, and I just wanted a really sinister like food army. So I had the idea that. I could have like a bunch of like random chefs running around as the cultists, and then they start cooking their monstrosities, and they end up with the dark magic and the warpness of 40k. They end up start becoming their dishes. So when they mutate into or whatever, all of a sudden you have these giant monstrosities of like a hamburger, and then a bigger hamburger. But then you added the very awesome idea from your experience with your Vet Guard, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah, and that is we add Chef Ramsay as the main hero, along with the master chefs or other famous chefs that are the Dark Commune models that then use their dark magics and their dark cooking powers to make them even bigger and stronger. And that was my addition. And then Orion came back with the whammy and knocked it out of the park.
Oh, are you talking about the board itself?
The Hell's Kitchen bit.
Yeah, because we're talking about because you have the hero series with your vet card. So because you have all the special heroes from the action movies and whatnot, and we're like, well, if we have the famous chefs, well then we would just do Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay and like the red kitchen and blue kitchen, and all the chefs are just messing up and getting turned into food by Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah,
which that is just a very interesting idea that I would love to kit bash.
Yeah.
Wow, that I am already excited to see this. This is all the ingredients of just like a masterclass team.
Yeah. I'm very excited about it. And
I see what you did there.
I started like making the chefs in a 3D program because I was so excited about it. Very, very excited. If any of you guys have any cool or interesting ways that you might be able to or ideas on how to change this team up from just Dark Cultists, make sure you tag us on our Discord or something, because I'd love to hear more ideas. But now moving on to the good side of this, it looks like we can take a bunch of different teams with this Inquisition team. What do you guys think about that? The fact that it seems like they're just breaking the mold and they're bringing back what everyone loved about the first edition. Or at least in theory. The theory is that you can either take a set people on the team, or the other theory is that you can bring, basically almost any model from these particular factions, to flesh out your Inquisition team. What do you guys think? You guys excited?
Yeah,
I am super. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I will. You honestly have more about this than I do, as I'm not really like a human team player. So, I just think it's very cool that it's going to break the roster, I think, wide open. I'm not quite sure how that's fully going to function. And I imagine we're going to see some very diverse, like, Inquisition people.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, that's a great point, right? Because with 20 roster slots, I don't know if people are just going to be spending days doing list building, and this is sort of like the return to list building. I don't know how it's going to work exactly with, when you're taking vet guard, troopers in there, or like breachers, like can you take all the specialists? Is there some like mix you have to do? But it's going to be really, really cool seeing some of these traditional, power combos of from some of these specialist teams, but thrown in the mix of a hodgepodge of random, inquisitorial henchmen. I love that archetype of team. It's just really fun. It's to me, it's really like the full expression of what Starstriders sort of were. And I'm really happy that people who really love that, Inquisition hodgepodge hero type will have a team to play with unbelievably large amounts of options.
Yeah, and Giacomo, I know that you're an armor man and you love playing armor teams. Now, what do you think? And I also know that you're playing breachers. Are you going to also try to collect this team and paint this team?
So I have my thoughts about it. I like those sculpts for their uniqueness, and I think that's pretty cool, but I don't see myself playing Inquisition. Though what does excite me is the choices, like mentioned earlier. That's pretty much how I feel about the team. I'll let other people play it, but I might collect them and paint them just like I want to do with Starstriders, even if I might never put them on table.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's just pretty cool, right? Like,
and my personal goal is to try to run the team, but not actually buy any of it, but by just scrounging up appropriate proxies and equivalents just from my decades of collecting 40K stuff and digging a lot of old cool metal models from 20 years ago and throwing them back on the battlefield. I'm excited to give them another shot.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great way to get around this the shortage of these boxes.
Oh, that too.
Going back to that chef team, though, I was looking up for like a Chef Ramsay model, and it looks like a Cool Mini or Not makes like a Chef Ramsay dude for Zombicide, where he's holding like a frying pan, and I was like, oh, I need to find that model. I need to find him. It's pretty awesome. I'm the future of Kill Team is very bright, as somebody has once told me, and I'm quite excited.
No doubt. Well, because let's see. So at Warhammer Fest, they teased Strikeforce Justian, right? They teased the Ashes of Faith box. Anything else that they showed off? I wasn't there, so
Actually, they did show off a trailer for season 3. And then they left a bunch of tiny little details for it that I think the majority of the people on the internet have sussed out. If not, I am 100% confident that I am correct on the next kill teams in the box. Not the terrain, but the teams.
We'll break it down for us.
Yeah, what's your shot? What's your shot?
So in the article, they also said a bunch of stuff about aspects. And then in the picture, if you freeze it in the video at 4 seconds, you can see a striking scorpion. It looks like crawling through the water or swimming, wading through the water. And aspect warriors, if you guys aren't familiar with lore, is they not only in that paragraph do they specifically say aspect warriors, and they also say path, but the Eldar choose a path when they go to war, and then that leads them to sometimes be an aspect warrior on their craft world. And I think striking scorpions are well overdue for a plastic release because they're still in resin. And it looks like that could be on the horizon. The second paragraph specifically says scouting and has a lot of scouting words in it, which makes me think that new Primaris scouts are going to be coming through. And you've already seen a couple of those scout type models in the Black Templar box, which also in 10th edition just showed the incinerators from the Black Templar box. So, maybe we'll see.
Maybe it always made me scratch my head why the Black Templar box wasn't made into a kill team itself. It seemed like it would have been perfect for it. Really, really, surprised they didn't go for it. Yeah, I mean, I would certainly love to get my hands on some plastic striking scorpions because that's the only aspect I don't have. So I would certainly love to have them. Yeah, I mean, and I also have
my only hesitation is that aspect warriors would be brand new, and then if they redid the scouts would either have to be brand new, like in that what is that armor called, the Phobos armor, or they would do an upgrade sprue. But every season 3 or every season has started off with people like 2 brand new teams. So at the end of that first paragraph, they did have like kill team, like specifically said like kill team. It was just like a weird way to say it. And in my last podcast, I'll say it again here. It kind of seemed as if like a Death Watch team might be coming because, why wouldn't you they already have a kill team for Death Watch. So it could be another thing out there.
You're not insinuating the final arrival of Death Watch scouts, are you?
Possibly. I think so.
Oh,
that's crazy. I wouldn't put any stock in that.
I'm in Chris's side with this one. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's not a thing. I'm going too far down the rabbit hole.
Death Watch are like scouts. Super covert. Yeah, Death Watch are like super covert alien hunters that like stalk their prey and use like covert surveillance tactics and reconnaissance. It would make no sense for them to have scouts.
That's true, but they would do great into a box into Xenos. I'm just saying, like, what if it's not scouts? I mean, what if I'm just wrong? I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to wait and find out.
That's what we love about rumors.
Death Watch, and they just
it could be just Death Watch. Like,
I mean,
they're not going to release another Space Marine team. We've already got too many of them.
This is Games Workshop.
They're all basic.
Yeah,
they're all outcasts. Death Watch doesn't count.
Yeah, they don't count.
I mean, my big question is, where are those dinosaurs? Right, I'm ready for my Exodites, and that's what I'm.
That rumor has been floating around the internet quite heavily. Is a bunch of Exodites. So
I wouldn't count the Exodites out either.
Could be.
Games Workshop has been known to pull some misdirection.
Now, I am going to be kind of upset if the striking scorpions come out and they have a damn bird with them, because every Eldar team has had a frickin' bird. Now I could see like the Exodites coming out and them getting like a little dragon, like flying like a little baby pseudo dragon. That would be dope. But like that's the only time I'm going to accept another bird.
A striking scorpion squad would have to have a pet scorpion, right?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
A really nasty.
And it would scutter around to be like the breacher cat. It'd probably have some cyber augmentations on it, and mark people on conceal, the whole 9 yards.
I'd be so down. I'm not gonna lie. When that team comes out, I might be swapping from all human teams to just going back to my evil Xeno self.
What if it was just like a walking torment grenade? Just every turn, it just nips somebody's ankle and they just slowly die. And they
That would be fantastic. That sort of reminds me of there was a lot of chatter about Hand of the Archon and that crazy grenade when they dropped, and it seems like definitely some of the newer teams have stolen their thunder.
Yeah, I think they have. Now, Hand of the Archon does have a great like alpha strike, much like a couple other teams in this edition, but they are. There's definitely some thunder that has been stolen for sure. Thunder Warriors? Are we talking about Thunder Warriors coming back and kill team? No, get the fuck out of here.
No, that would be. There's
Thunder Warrior
no way.
Scouts.
There's some speculation on a Custodes bespoke team where it's the Eyes of the Emperor, I think they're called, where they go out and like they're not in Custodes armor anymore and they're doing reconnaissance
Custodes
work.
Scouts?
Yeah, that'd be
Custodes
kinda cool,
Scouts? That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be a neat team, where they're not actually wearing the Custodes armor, like they're just in like cloaks and hoods and stuff, but they're still just super ripped and buff.
Oh,
I was thinking like just straight up abs. That's not what I thought.
I would
No, they're already where they must be
Emperor
buttoning.
GDS, Killer Men theme, yeah.
Yeah, I would just paint them all like superheroes, and just, leave it at that. That would be super cool. Yeah, and that would be really cool because Custodes are still just Custodes in Kill Team. They don't have anything else that's like super in particularly awesome. And for me, they've never really made sense in like just Kill Team because usually it's just like a single one running around. But, I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm an old school lore purist, so I'm happy for Custodes to not be in the game. At least in their current form. So yeah, I'm not rushing for them to get a bespoke team.
Yeah. Do you guys think that Tyranids are ever going to get a bespoke team? Because at this point in everything that's dropped, I don't know if we're going to get a
All
Tyranid.
Right, here's my theory. Right, so Games Workshop's been awfully cagey about a Tyranid team, and we thought they were going to come in Gallowfall. There's no way we're not going to get anything for the Leviathan box. There's just no way. There's no way.
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe they're going to drop another box.
There's also the annual coming out where I don't think we know what's exactly going in that.
Yeah, the annual. Well, what they've specifically said is that all the Gallowdark teams are going to be in that book, which is fantastic, especially for tournament organizers like ourselves. The fact that we don't have to carry around 4 extra books, we can just carry around 1. Do you guys? I'm hoping more stuff is in there. Do you guys think anything else is going to be in there?
There's got to be, right? Like, there's got to be.
Look, we got Gellerpox and Star Striders, right? Last time as a surprise, right?
True.
Look, the designers of Kill Team know what we like, right? They're it's all in good time.
So you're saying that the last action here, what is that team that you want, Giacomo? The something
I
last.
I want Colonel
Schaefer's
last
Chancers.
Yeah, Schaefer's Last Chancers. You think so? So what you're saying is that Schaefer's Last Chancers are coming out. I'd be down. I'd be down.
I would be down too. That'd be really fun to see.
That
I
or
am
like
familiar.
Gaunt's team, more hero
Gaunt's
teams
Ghost.
coming out. Please, Games Workshop. Gaunt's Ghost.
I like hero
it's not
teams.
it's not like. I mean, they don't listen to this podcast, but it sure would be fun.
I mean, maybe they do.
I mean,
get out
I
of
have
here.
a speculation on it.
All right.
So, we mentioned we got Gellerpox and Rogue Trader in the book with all the other teams that we already had. So, but those were from last edition. And they were like, well, everyone's like, where are those? I know 2 more teams that could easily be in there that are missing from last edition. And that would be the Servants of the Abyss.
That would be
combined
really
with
cool.
the heroes or the Blackstone Fortresses expedition people from that box.
That
Oh,
would be so cool.
It would. It would. That would be an excellent comeback. I mean, they already have the molds and they're not selling them, right? So it would only make sense. It's a really easy plug and play.
That'd be a mixed race
That would be
team,
really
right?
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would. Would it be our
there's
first mixed
Kroot,
race team?
Kroot, Eldar, and Robot, yeah.
Yeah. And dog.
We're going to have our first and dog. Yeah.
And Ratlings.
And Ratlings.
Did you know I'll have to save that one. I'm going to write it down. Don't ruin it. It's for the
Damn,
vote.
you just blew my mind, man.
Well, just thinking.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that they're going to redo any compendium? I'm really hoping. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm really hoping that a couple compendium teams get something.
Yeah, there's only a few outstanding ones. Obviously the Tyranid that we talked about. Then Death Guard, Grey Knights, which I've been wanting a team based off the Chaos Gate Demon Hunters game.
Okay.
I've wanted so badly to see Grey Knight and Death Guard teams based off that game. I mean,
that
all
would
the
be so
materials
cool.
there.
Yeah.
And those two are sort of the notable outstanding ones to me, and of course Tyranids. Return of the Lictor, perhaps?
Well, I was go ahead, Orion. Go ahead.
You're talking about the Tyranids. What if? Because we're also talking about them selling 10th and selling tons of Tyranids, right? What if they just threw some kill team rules in there with the Leviathan box?
No,
that would be sick.
There's no way.
I don't
Why
know.
not? You have everything you need for a kill team in there.
I think it
That's
could push kill team a
true.
little bit more. It could be really cool. So
It could easily be led by the Prime. You have the shooting gaunts. You have the mid ranger, whatever they are, the little, I don't know,
Antennas?
bugs with the.
the little psychic bugs that can't see without their little leader.
You have those, but I'm talking about the mid range, like shooter kind of bugs. They're like the
Hormagaunts.
Termagants, but a little bit bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have like the Leapers as like maybe 2 melee specialists. So you got a decent sized army there, similar to Gellerpox.
That's pretty cool. Not gonna lie, that would be super cool. And they have rippers too, right? You could put a couple rippers in there, counting as similar to a Gellerpox type team. That could be cool.
I've definitely wanted to see swarms and kill teams since Kill Team 18. The lack of Ripper swarms and Scarab swarms is or Nurglings for that instance. Chaos Demons too. That's a team that we haven't seen like a full form Chaos Demon team. I would love to see. My ideal demon team is it's like 4 options, but they're all mono god. So it's like
that would
technically
be
the
cool.
same like rule set, but you can't mix and match. No demonettes and bloodletters together. Legionaries are already dipping their toes into that pretty far, but when it's actual demons, I like them to be mono god.
My thought was instead of getting goats, it would have been really cool to get like Dark Mechanicum in this box.
But that would have been so cool.
I'm also really like a Dark Mechanicum demon type thing because Vastro was out and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and there's your Negavolt cultists from Blackstone Fortress.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, demons would be a really cool team. I'd definitely be cool with demons. I think all the other teams have pretty much been kind of accounted for other than actual Craft World, right?
Yep.
Which please get rid of Guardians. They are not a kill team. They're not.
So not an Ulthway fan, I see.
I love Ulthway. Eldred is my boy. I brought that man to so many tournaments. He is my man.
So then just headcanon them as Black Guardians and you're good to go.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't make sense to me either. I mean, the Guardian Defenders are there, sort of in an emergency, right? And so if you're going on special operations, right, you're not bringing the farmers. Your farmers and poets are going to stay at home and keep doing farming and poetry.
Yeah, it would be cool if we theorized about an actual Craft World team. I would love to see like a mixed kill team with just like 1 or 2 different operatives, maybe like a couple different ones from like outside of just a Striking Scorpion one, because that's the obvious contender. But like you could bring like a Warlock, a couple Rangers, maybe a couple Aspect Warriors, and they just make up like a specific team. That would be cool.
See, my one issue with that is from a lore perspective. The Eldar are pretty single-minded, and if there was a team that was very Aspect Warrior heavy, it wouldn't make sense to me to be like just mixing and matching like that. Like
Correct.
Like really it would be, a bunch of whatever, aspect, be it Striking Scorpions or, Warp Spiders theoretically, which is the most obvious choice for a kill team ever, because that's basically what they already are. So yeah, it wouldn't make sense to me to see like a hodgepodge, but who knows?
Yeah. Warp Spiders are another intriguing choice. There was a lot of talk at the beginning of this edition that the two specific aspects when the Eldar were getting released that were 100% coming out with brand new models because people apparently have seen them was warp spiders, who were made in the 1990. These models were released. They are awful. I have 10 of them. They're awful, and they
All right,
each weigh
now hold on. Now,
pound.
them's fighting words. Now, hold on.
Okay, I'm listening.
You don't like the old Warp Spider sculpts?
No, I did back in the day. They've shown their age so much.
Like a fine wine, brother. Like a fine wine. All right. Appreciate the wisdom of age.
Okay, I appreciate them, but I'd rather a warlock. The old warlocks were bad too, but also the swooping hawks. You know, do you own any swooping hawks? Do you own them?
I own 10 of them, and all the
how
old
hard is it
ones.
to keep the wings on?
Oh, super hard. I had to pin them, and in my carrying foam for them, they've got these special sections to like keep the wings on, and also to keep them attached to their base. Yeah, they've needed a lot of work to stay straight. Yeah, definitely. A swooping hawk would be amazingly cool team too.
They would be. Now, the other crazy thing about the swooping hawks and stuff is like if they ever got a brand new model. Sorry to deviate for all you Kill Team fans out there. If we ever got anything like Scourges, I would hope they'd be a little bit smaller than the Scourges from the Dark Eldar because they literally take up the same amount of space as a Viper in foam. So I decided to go to magnetizing them, taking them to events because they just take up that much space in foam. It's insane.
That makes sense. That reminds me, sort of on the Pokemon topic and wanting for new teams. One team that and also speaking of really old miniatures, some really old sculpts and stuff that's only was in Finecast was the Dark Eldar Beasts, right? With the Beastmaster and all the Pokemon. Now, how cool of a team would it be to have the Beastmaster, a few like full-on Dark Eldar, and then a bunch of the different creatures, right? And that's sort of what I was hoping we would see. We did get the Sky Splinter Assassin for the Dark Eldar team. We did get, which is like a sprinkle of it, but I was hoping for a full kill team full of the monsters. That would have been so fun.
That would be amazing because you have the Hand of the Archon dudes too. But
yep,
I think a Mandrake team, a full Mandrake team, because they're old as crap too. I think that team would be awesome as well.
I still have the old metal Mandrakes from way in the day, the BDSM leather ones.
Yep. Those ones.
Mandrakes have never really been my. Those ones are so cool. And all my witches are the old metal ones too. Yeah, Mandrake team could be really cool. I don't really know what you'd do with it, but
they'd be like striking scorpions, but dark.
All right, so I know nothing of Eldar whatsoever, besides the little things I've seen in last Kill Team Edition. I know Mandrakes had like one weapon layout, right?
Yeah, they had warp fire that they can shoot. It's like a blast that they just shoot out of their hands because they have like magic from the darkness, from the dark realm of darkness.
And then the striking scorpions at least have some different weapons, right?
They have their
the Exarch.
Yeah, the Exarch has little different guns. I'm sure they could, if a kill team came out with them, they could probably give them a couple of them different pistols. But typically in the old models, they've only had shuriken pistols and chain swords and manda blasters. Now the leaders have had the Scorpion Claw that came completely kitted out with a gun inside of it. And then the other one was a biting blade, which is my personal favorite look to them, which is basically a two-handed giant chain sword of death. Yeah. Yes. It's an Eldar eviscerator that has the blade, the thinness of a couple molecules.
Oh, wow. I'm just Googling everything you guys are telling me. These models are ugly.
All right. Well, I guess I'm alone in my appreciation for the classics and the heritage from whence we all come from.
Hey, I have second edition Aspect Warriors, third edition, and Finecast.
Yeah, I have probably 3,000 points of Bieltan, and the entire army was all Aspect Warriors. I would love to play them in Kill Team again because all I've been able to play is the Dire Avengers. And actually, I dabbled with the Compendium team in the early days of Kill Team, and they sort of didn't just vibe, how I wanted them to. And then I was actually kind of bummed when they did the balanced data slate and they added more bodies to the team, because that to me really broke from just a lore perspective, how I think Eldar should work. And I don't want to have an Eldar team where I'm drowning my opponent in bodies. It feels wrong. It feels super wrong to me. So
you don't. each person is super special to Eldar. So like if anyone doesn't know anything about the lore, like after every battle, every fallen Eldar has a soul gem, and somebody will go around and collect those soul gems and then take it back to their ship and put it into the Infinity Matrix, which is essentially an artificial heaven that the elves make, and then they can go and talk to their ancient relatives in their own ships. And the reason why is that if an Eldar's ever dies and their soul gem cracks, they go into the warp, just like every other dead person. They go into the warp, and then Slaanesh eats them. And the difference is with the Eldar retain their consciousness. So it's a horrifying experience for the Eldar, unlike humans who don't care and don't retain their consciousness, and Slaanesh just eats them. So
Yeah,
that's why
for sure, being tortured by Slaanesh for eternity is a very awful fate, and that's where the Corsair Soulstone recovery tack up comes from. Is that pragmatic nature of not wanting to leave behind on one of your raids. It's definitely a fate worse than death. They don't spend the rest of eternity necessarily in the Infinity Matrix. Sometimes they put them, back in a Spirit Stone or sort of infuse them in the armor of Exarchs. So one of the really cool things about Aspect Warrior Exarchs is that their armor has the sort of combined knowledge of every Exarch before them. And
Correct.
so they sort of can draw upon that ancient wisdom. And it's had different effects in different iterations of 40K. I too am an Eldar fanboy.
Yes.
And would
see.
love to see more Craftworld love.
Yeah, and don't forget the Wraith Guard, the Wraith Lords, and the Wraith Knights.
I'm
And
looking at
Hinderers.
Wraith Knight right now. Beautiful.
A Wraith team would be awesome. I'm not going to lie.
That
It would be
would be
sick.
Yeah, there'd be an elite team,
Yeah.
It would be
right? Maybe
sick.
even 4 guys.
Yeah, it'd probably be like 4.
Yeah, I've sort
Still,
of
that's strong.
soft given up hope on seeing a team like that, just because they seem to not want to do Terminator team, regardless of how many angry emails and voicemails I leave. Still no Terminators. So I
Thanks
don't know
for
what's
yet.
going on there.
Not yet. Not
Yeah,
yet.
I'm carrying the torch.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the heart of our subject today, and that would be the Votan and
Yes.
the Beastmen.
Where do you want to start?
So
With the votes or the
where
votes?
do you want to start?
Well, let's start with the Votan.
So, Votan was something that people have been waiting a long time to come in a kill team. And I'm super happy that they finally are. They're not my cup of tea, but I am very, very pleased with how the Salvager team was implemented. I think they sort of across the board do exactly what I think they should be doing. They have an amazingly varied and interesting toolbox, and I can't wait to play against them. Again, not my cup of tea, so I don't think I'm going to be running them. But really excited to see them across the table and be annoyed by their various dwarf BS.
Honestly, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly why I want to play them, is because of their varied, unique set. I've never seen a team where you can switch a weapon before, and that just reading that rule alone already kind of sold me on them. And then I read more stuff about their barricade abilities, which is then also cool. Only downside is they move 4 inches. It's not the fastest team.
They do move 4 inches, and they unfortunately also have a reprint of the balanced data slate rule. Effectively, that the steady advance rule that they have makes them unable to have their movement characteristic modified, except they're already speed 4, which means it basically already overlaps with what was in the data slate. It would have been interesting to see them maybe like ignore a barricade traversal or something like that. So they're definitely going to be feeling that low speed, and that's going to be the biggest challenge the team has. And it really requires a lot of planning ahead for the future, right? This is a team where if your approach to your play style is you like to just think on your feet and sort of adapt on the fly and shift things around and have that mobility, this team is going to not be very friendly. But if you really like planning ahead and getting all your ducks in a row and really, having that whole alignment of where everyone's going to be going, I think this team will work. One of the things that I don't think people are really considering that I think is really interesting are 2 things. Is one, the locator makes it so that your opponent can't use their pregame move abilities, right? Which helps sort of close the gap because you will presumably still get yours. One of the other things is that in a practical game of Kill Team, your ability to deploy in your drop zone tends to be a little restrictive because not everywhere in your drop zone is safe to deploy. And oftentimes there's spots where an enemy could easily get a vantage point shot on you. and really punish you for that. So your ability to play that rampart ploy to really beef up your drop zone lets you be more aggressive with your initial positioning, and therefore will help you get up the field faster. And I think something not enough people are really looking at right now that I think will come into play, especially in your top tables.
Yeah, that's something actually I didn't even consider till you brought it up right now. So now, as I consider playing the team, that's something I'm probably trying to do and make sure my opponents don't know that. Do you think they're going to be taking more recon or security, just based on their speed alone?
The speed makes recon really rough. Recover item team is more than a more than a meme at this point, and definitely basically everyone running recon is running recover item. I think that's going to be a much harder sell here. I think security is a really natural fit. Things like hold them back or central control are I think going to be feeling very natural to this team, and especially seize ground on open and seize access point on in the dark. I think are going to be almost auto includes here.
Yeah, because they have a 3-up save, which is just...
They do have a 3-up save,
That
and that's
too.
something that, there's a lot of chatter about the team being really fragile. And while true on paper, they do only have 7 wounds, having that 3-up save is pretty nice. And they also have the hardy ploy, which helps keep them a little more survivable than they otherwise would be. So they are going to drop. They're not tanky in the traditional sense, but they're also, I wouldn't describe them as fragile, right? They do have a 3-up save, and that does help with a 10 body team.
Yeah, so we have 10 bodies, which is pretty much the same as an orc team, who is already kind of difficult to take out, and they have a 5-up save, right? I mean,
Yep.
I don't really see this team being super fragile just because of the saves. I mean, we've all seen how many 3-up saves it takes to kill a Space Marine.
Yep. And
Sometimes it's rough.
Yeah, and they're going to be layering that in with their ability to. They have a lot of tools to have shots that get no cover, and they also have one of their gunners that ignores obscuring altogether. Right, that's really allows them to be kind of cheeky with their positioning. It's which really helps. They also have the Cognitar, which allows them to do sort of basically the attack and defense orders that breachers have. Basically the same ability, and their ability to place that basically defend token. They got 3-up saves now and reroll fails, right? Which is going to be, again, that's really going to help their survivability against ranged, and then hopefully they'll have time to set themselves up and get a gun line going before the melee starts.
Yeah, the one thing is I will say is that Intercession does have a 96 wound profile for the entire team, while this team pretty much only has 70, 71. So they do have notably less overall wounds, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're any less tanky, because they do have more operatives and they have a lot bigger guns than Intercession.
Yeah, for sure.
I
think they're going to be reasonable. I think the 3-up saves, while it doesn't look necessarily tanky, I think it'll help you trade enough to the point where you can probably take out models who are shooting versus you, because most models who are shooting in this game, unless they're Marines, are going to be weaker on the trade if you're firing back. And the amount of damage this team can do, I feel like compensates that, where, yeah, maybe they will go down, relatively easy sometimes, but also their main mechanic, right, is retaining hits.
Which is
or going down.
Bonkers.
Right.
You kind of want them to die. Some of them, not like your dude with your Magna rail rifle.
Yeah, and you're getting free grudge tokens too, and that's something that's just massively undervalued. Is that grudge token mechanic? A lot of people are looking at the team, they see 4 up on paper for the guns, and they're like, oh, how lame, right? But if you really think about it, your ability to retain hits as crits means that you won't have a total number of success die that are too many, but the die that are landing, you're just getting crit after crit after crit. And that not only works against teams with good armor saves, that also works on teams with invulns, right? The bane of an invuln heavy team is those crits, right? Because those just add up, and the only way you're getting out of that is through 6s.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, also, we would assume that this team was play tested against the Fellgor, so they must be of relative, hopefully strength, or at least they're decent into each other. Because when we look at, it might not be true, but when we look at the Pathfinders versus Novitiates, they both came out and they're both very good. So, and both teams I've seen have about the same power level. So when you look at what's that other team? Like when Heartkyn came out versus
Heretic Circle.
Heretic Circle, they were both undervalued or at least underperforming. So then they both would receive. So if everyone is saying, the future is goats, this team also has to have some play, and I think that they are being undervalued or underlooked because to me they look pretty good.
I think they're being critically undervalued right now, and I don't know if it's going to be the same situation like with the Blooded Renaissance, but teams that have a toolbox with this amount of variety in it, and have that much, there's this volume of shooting that is, in all honesty, pretty consistent. You're going to see this team really do things you weren't expecting. They have some really fun tricks and maneuvers they can pull. My favorite one is Worth It. Their ploy that when an operative's incapacitated, it can do a free mission action. All right, this is a game changer on something like loot, right? Because if your opponent gets initiative, you can set it up where even if you lose initiative, you get to loot a point, right? Because you can stack the ball in your favor. That is incredibly, incredibly useful. So there's these things that on paper you may not think it's a huge deal, or using Worth It to close a door and in the dark, right? On death.
Ooh,
right? That's neat. Yeah, there goes your cool cheeky setup you were doing there, Mr. Chaos, Chosen or something like that.
What is your guys' favorite model from the squats, just in general?
Ooh, I know mine.
It's either you could say either model or data sheet, either one or both.
Mine would be the punching guy. I don't quite remember his name, but he's the I think Dozer. I think his name is.
Yeah.
The Dozer.
Just a fantastic model. Yeah. The fact that he can just kind of punch models around the board is just fantastic. He showed up to the game and he's playing pool.
I'm quite taken with the Grenadier. Actually, I think that the utility grenade, where you pick one of the effects, is just a really neat mechanic. I really like that. I like the grenades that I like. I love games with tools that aren't directly offensive, right? That just change how the engagement works. I love the fact that it's a grenade that does not involve actually doing damage, but it slows them down or curses their weapons to have hot, or it just makes them scared or whatever else and makes mission actions hard. So I'm a fan of the Grenadier. I like abilities and mechanics like that.
I like the Lugger. Again, I'm thrown by the ability to switch weapons on the fly in a game.
Yeah, that is really, really cool. You put him near your Hearthkyn gunner, right, and you can do a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, same with the leader, right? The leader has like 6 shooting options.
Yeah.
Can the Luger also change melee weapons, or is it only ranged?
I wouldn't see why not. It's re-equip a weapon. As long as they'd have the option to take it, right?
Yeah, I think that's how it works. I don't quite remember.
Yeah, I mean, we are looking at just pictures of, at least I'm looking at pictures of Can You Roll a Crits video because none of us have the actual book as of yet.
Shout out to our YouTube heroes, which go through and read through the rules and do those very wonderful screenshots. So shout out to those people making it possible for us to survive in this weird time between the rules being previewed and us not actually having the book in hand,
and possibly not being able
to
get the book. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, it looks like you just switch their weapon because it's just something that they're equipped with, that they could be equipped with. So
it's really hard. I really like the look of the jump pack dude. I think the jump pack dude looks awesome. The gunner, the beam weapon just sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know how often it's actually going to work, but with the field medic, to me, the fact that you get to relive a model, like have a model come back to life, at least that's how I read it. It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, definitely any team with a medic. I always am loving because it's a get out of jail free card. And it's very, very powerful to be able to not trade during a shooting engagement, but actually your opponent loses a piece and you lose nothing. Your agency there to set up a gunner, flip him to engage near the end of the turning point when your opponent only has a plasma gunner left to retaliate. Then wham, medic, start a next turn, and if they kill your gunner again, you medic again, right? And that's basically you die twice for nothing, you only suffer -1 APL a single time. I remember
it's like
back.
He's a Fellgor beast at that point.
God, I remember back in December 2021, I remember figuring out that medic combo, and I remember posting it on a Discord saying, like, does it really work that way? And everyone was trying to say, no, if you already have -1 APL, you can't do it again, and stuff like that.
Oh, you
And,
can.
oh, you can. Yeah, much. And then novitiates could do it too. And I was briefly playing Kazarkin and could do the same medic cheese. So yeah, having a medic is just wonderful.
Absolutely. There's a lot of great models on this team. There's a lot of cool stuff. Don't they have a way to make somebody like go 10th, like last, like this model,
Yes.
that model goes last.
Yeah, they have their comms has an omni scramble ability, which is actually really cool because often comms, it's just like a +1 APL battery where they're sitting there and maybe doing a mission action, or maybe not, right? And just they can only really use one of their action points. But with this comms piece, there's actually a huge incentive to put this comms on conceal on a vantage point, so it can get LOS to an enemy, but then stay on conceal and do the omni scramble move to it. And that ability to have that in your back pocket is amazingly strong.
Yeah.
I love Omni Scrambler, so just another reason
Now
to
I
play
have
him.
a question about a rules interaction. You have the Hearthkyn dozer, right? And it says when he's a brawler and he fights in combat, if it's incapacitated, you can strike with one of your remaining attack dice before it's removed from the kill zone.
Yes, sir.
So let's say that you and the goat kill each other. Then with this model, just if he had an extra crit, he could just hit him one more time and then just kill the.
He could evict the goat from reality. Yes, sir.
I like that. That's cool.
We're sensing some counterplay. So too can one of my best friends, Timmy the Flenser, from Blooded, also has the same thing, strike on death, and his ability to get a lot of crits because he's lethal 5 means that the Flenser too has the same kind of maneuver where he can make sure to get rid of that goat before he leaves the kill zone.
That's really cool. That's super cool.
It's a really neat interaction. Yeah.
Is there a way to combo this, like I attack when I die and turning off the goat's ability when they do their death thing? Is there a thing that works that way?
Well, so normally a goat would not necessarily go away after they frenzy, and it sort of depends on the sequencing of events. It's a much stronger tool defensively than offensively. But so if you charge at a goat and have a combat with it and kill it, it frenzies instead, right? Instead of actually dying, and then you'd have to fight it in combat again in order to fully remove it from the kill zone. So because of abilities like Brawler, you can potentially get around some timing that otherwise you would have had to deal with a frenzy.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting interaction.
So it's much less strong while the goat is active, and we probably couldn't dodge the goat conversation for that long. But imagining a goat that can fight twice is fighting in combat with a dozer. Now, if it activates, it fights first, and let's say it kills the dozer, and normally it would then, if it died itself, it would frenzy and then have the last action point to fight again and kill maybe another model before it's fully gone from the kill zone. But because the dozer is Brawler, as the final, up yours to the goat, he could crit the now frenzied goat and get it gone from the kill zone before it can fight again. And that would be one of the situations where the ability like this is very, very nice.
Well,
very cool.
Also, if the goat was killed, yeah, never mind. You're right.
I'm pretty sure I got that right. Although definitely there's been a frenzy for everyone to kind of figure out how the new rules work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing is like every time the game is broken, because every team breaks the game in one way or another, right? So every team is like, oh, I get to move and dash, and then, or I get to move, shoot, and then dash, or I get to shoot on death. All these different, every single team, the thing that makes them unique is that they break the game, right? And this one is different, and we've never experienced something like this, that the goat's mechanic before. And I don't think it's bad. I think it's very fascinating. I think it's very cool. And I hope it was intentioned that, it does make Seek and Destroy a little bit harder to score, because it makes the game more interesting. You have to play the game differently when you play this specific team, just like you have to play differently when you play into Gellerpox. Like at Kill Team Open.
The first team in the game, the first kill team in the game, Commandos, broke a core mechanic. They can charge and conceal, right?
Exactly.
It's in kill teams' bones to have teams that work sort of this way. Void Dancers, break the shooting rules, right? They play by their own rules. They fly everywhere. As far as how intentional some of these specific interactions are, a Wormblade for sure, right? Turning Point 1 is their playground. As far as how intentional some of the specifics interactions here are with the GOAT, I can't say for sure. I'm not a mind reader. But definitely the core, regardless, the core principle of this frenzy system, is obviously definitely intentional, and it is really, really cool. And I've been definitely just theory crafting and workshopping, with my local group about, how to play into this team, how to deal with it, what things still work, what things we have to modify. And I just think that's great.
Absolutely. Do you guys think that the vote, before we move fully on to the GOATs, is there any reason to take any of the Votan special tac ops or tac boys?
Well, their suite of ploys are great. They have a wide variety of really, really nice tools there. Their tac ops, I'm always very concerned when there's a tac op that requires mission actions. And two of their tac ops, Excavate and Rig Site, both require action points to pull them off. That to me, it gives me echoes of the old Phobos, mission action tac ops where they're planting the bombs and stuff that just seem really neat on paper. I think in practice you're going to see they either don't take any of them or they take Subtle Grudges. I think Subtle Grudges is a pretty solid one. And that's probably what you're going to see most of the time. It reminds me a lot of with Void Dancers, right? They have the Mythic Play, which just rewards them for playing the game. I see Subtle Grudges here is very much the same pattern.
Okay, fair enough. Now let's move on to the GOATs, the hot topic of the internet. Now, what's fascinating is that I've really tried not to watch very many videos or go onto like big Discords or Facebook because I kind of wanted to formulate my own opinion about both of these teams before it gets tainted by the warp. So what is your guys' initial reaction to this team's core mechanic, and do you think that they are insanely broken?
Well, I think Chris has stated, about the core mechanic. He thinks it's a fun challenge, and I agree as well. I mean, there's maybe one or two things that could be tweaked with like tac op interaction and like tokens, like blooded tokens and stuff. I think that's fair to say that those things should interact with the frenzy. But beyond that, I mean, the team, let's say a lot of people are calling to take it away. Like, oh, this team's so good without frenzy. I'm like, well, where? There's no shooting. It's entirely melee. And it's just, if you take the frenzy away, you're just looking at a bunch of guys with choppas and some cool effects here and there.
Yeah.
But
it
10
Yeah. It has echoes of when people wanted Gellerpox to be adjusted by taking Feel No Pain off the Hulks, right? Like that would, sure, you could do that, and then nobody plays Gellerpox anymore, right?
Exactly.
These teams that are melee teams, this is a hard thing from a game design perspective. How do you make a team in a game where shooting is lethal, right? And these shooting engagements can often decide the game. Well, how do you design a team that just doesn't shoot, right? And is also has very little armor, right? Not only are they don't have guns of their own, really. They also are wearing, tissue paper for armor. So how do you make that work? And that's genuinely, it was probably something that, the design team here spent a long time on and, really scratched their head. I think this is a really, really creative solution to that problem.
Yeah, I mean, they die, right? And it's not like you're not punished for letting that model die. It can't do mission actions anymore. If you're on anything like loot or whatnot, you're kind of stuck there. They're hitting on 4s, in some cases 5s. Yep. When they are frenzied, you don't have too many rerolls outside of one specific model or rerolling everything for a CP, but that's not always the best choice. You could easily get the same result. So I mean, they're still very inconsistent with this mechanic.
Yeah,
and the mechanic is punishing to the GOAT player, which I think a lot of people aren't saying. They're like, oh, we just have a free extra model now. Like, well, kinda, but I mean. He died really easy in the first place because, he just has a 5-up save.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. When you shoot a Fellgor, from outside of 10 inches away from you, and you kill it, it will not do anything to you, right? So when people are, I've seen on the Discord some people saying, oh, you have to kill 20 models to get rid of the Fellgors. No, you don't.
It's not how it works.
There's 10 models, and sometimes after you kill them, they spend a little more time on the battlefield than you'd like before they eventually perish. But they're going away one way or another, right? Like after you frenzy them, they will be taken off the board. It's only a question of when.
I have serious gripes with that argument where you have to kill 20 models. I'm like, you have to kill, 30 models for Gellerpox in that sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Or not 30, but you have to kill 15. But it's very rarely that anybody's getting tabled and all models get taken off the board in a lot of cases, right? So you don't have to kill 20 models because very rarely do all the models die. If you did, congrats. So it's not that simple. Yep. And then they don't have to be killed. They will just die naturally, or
just natural causes. Yeah, and once they're frenzied, they are injured for sure. They can't do mission actions anymore. They're slower unless you take War Paint, and they're less accurate. Right? I mean, all of these things add up, and just change how you approach the matchup. So if your melee's really really bad, then you just have to kill them from far away, right, and let time do the rest. If you have really good melee, if you've got like a Shrive Talon sitting around, he's looking at those goats like, come at me, bro. He doesn't care. So I think there's a lot more to this than just you have to kill 20 goats. I think that's just not an accurate way of describing what this matchup's like. So couldn't agree more.
They each get one extra activation, which to me is not necessarily broken. Now it is very strong,
right? So one of the interesting things about this is that this is a defensive mechanic. They can't use this offensively because if they die during their own activation, they'll go away anyway. So
right.
It's interesting because when you actually look at this mechanic, it doesn't help them with an Alpha Strike. It doesn't help them with an Alpha Strike at all. And so that's the big thing here is that this is an extremely defensive tool.
My favorite counterplay into this is that like they reward themselves for how you have to play into them. Like as a player, you kind of want to play like super aggressive so you can try and kill as many of them as you can, and then they get to like counterattack with whatever's left. Or you could play it like super cagey and just try and score as many points as you can while killing each one as you can. And I think it's a super fun matchup. It's just like Gellerpox. Like you have to play the game different to play them. It's really cool.
Yep. Yeah, if you go at Gellerpox where you're just gonna just slowly start degrading the Hulks, right? And you just spend your entire game focusing on the Hulks. You'll end the game with a bunch of dead Hulks, and your own models are all dead, and the Gellerpox player has a bunch of points, and that's how it ends. And so exactly. You just got to approach the matchup differently.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I literally played a game today before I started on this podcast, where I was playing against somebody who was playing Tyranids, and they took 3 warriors and Gene Stealers, and were on loot. And what he decided to do was he wouldn't charge me. He would just go. He very very aggressive turn 1 and just stole all the points because he didn't want to charge me at all. He didn't want to fight me. And what he did was he forced me to come to him, and because he had the superior melee, I was like, well, what do I do at that point? I charge in, and then Gene Stealers wreck my face because they have fantastic stats. And there was kind of the game he was playing where I lost 2 models because I had to charge him to take him off of my points, and I died. And I was like, well, there goes the goat.
Yep. And that's that exact thing, right? Like frenzy is worthless offensively because if you die during that same combat, the combat ends. You'd have to have +1 APL and the ability to do 2 fight actions in order to fight again to make frenzy worth it, to do anything with it. And then you just go away because your activation ends while you're frenzied, right? And that's it. So
yeah,
the Gene Stealer only killed you once and you're off the table.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. Like they have Reckless Determination, which helps them turn 1, turn 2, and they have Ambush that they can do. But if they play Ambush, they're going to play it. So then you can play a different strategic ploy to hopefully counter it.
I don't know if there's much counter to Ambush. I think Ambush is something you always play on turn 2. I think that's just
but Ambush is only happening realistically turn 2. Maybe
it's the turn 2 ploy. Yeah, I mean, exactly. And definitely, I think really, really great players will play this team very well for and against. I would echo some of the sentiment I've seen online that I would agree with, though, is that this will be a gatekeeping team. And by that I mean for players who are new to the game, who don't necessarily abstract their thinking enough to think of approaching different matchups differently. They'll see this team and they'll try to fight them, and they'll be frantically trying to just get as many kills as they can and try to, like, quote, beat the frenzy system by just scoring more melee kills. And if that's the approach you take, you're going to have a bad time. And I do think, like Void Dancers, this team is going to shut out players who are a little less experienced with how to navigate the matchup questions.
I could see that. I could also see, the fact that these that intercession is the same thing, right? Like, but also, like, people can pilot intercession at a at a relatively lower skill level to great success. And I don't know if that's the same with this team. I think that this team is going to be quite difficult to maneuver and play correctly.
I mean, I agree with that. So I've played a couple games with them now, and it's not autopilot where I can just send guys out and do the things. There's a lot of combos that need to be stacked in order for their abilities to be efficient. Mm-hmm. You have to be very mindful of your orders, especially turn one, because you can do aggressive plays turn one, but only if a lot of these models are on engage, minus the Toxhorn. And, it's a lot more challenging than I thought it would be, because all the models really do have to synergize together. You have to use your leader on the correct models to get the dashes, but don't bunch up too much or expose yourself too much. You can dash out, but if you don't have heavy cover to dash out to, you're exposing yourself to, vantage points. It's a very challenging team, in my opinion.
Oh, no, I definitely agree that I think that the team is challenging to play well. All I mean is that playing against them will throw a lot of players for a loop.
Yeah, I agree.
I see a lot of initiate in this team with the ability, with everything having to stack together, and there's not, the team doesn't tell you how to play it, right? You really got to, unwrap every little piece and see how everything can plug together. And there's also not necessarily one right way to stack it all together. So yeah, very, very deep team.
Yeah, this team, it has so much tactical depth that if you guys are really looking for a challenging team that will be rewarding whenever you actually succeed, I would suggest to pick up Fellgors, because there is just so much different things you can do with different combinations. It's phenomenal. Like, their tactical depth is really cool.
Yep. 100%.
I got a question about Frenzy.
Please. I am now, fortunately or unfortunately, I think I'm an expert in how it works.
Mm-hmm. And these are just like two things that I think they work the way they should, but since we have a bunch of TOs here, may as well get the answer now. When you get your Frenzy token, do you still retain your full health, or do you stay at the last point you were before you died?
Well, in order to get a Frenzy token, you have to be at 0 wounds. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so you stay at 0, but you still activate afterwards. Okay.
And you're counted.
I mean, you might activate afterward, right? It depends on when you frenzy.
Right, you might. You're right.
Yeah, so if it's not during your own activation, you will guarantee another activation. If you are active and it happens, you're going away.
Cool. Yeah, because obviously it doesn't really matter too much, because you will die at the end of your activation, but it's just something I was wondering about. And then as far as not having the conceal order, if you somehow get shot on turn 1 and you had a conceal order, when you frenzy, would you be forced to become engaged? Right? Because even though you can't necessarily normally switch. Again, just small FAQs that don't really matter, but I'm just curious how they're going to say it. Cool.
Oh, I think that can potentially matter. That can potentially matter a lot. Having to flip to engage potentially. So yeah, it denies your ability to do ambush next turn. It does not help anyone shoot you.
That too, yeah.
Because you can't kill a frenzied operative by shooting. But yeah, it is neat.
But it does. It does help you shoot. So if you do get a turn 1 kill on a goat, right, and he goes frenzy and on engage, if you have any sort of group activation or whatnot, or your opponent's not quite paying attention, like, you can use that model for blast and splash. Because you can still shoot it.
Yeah,
and then the models.
Yeah, you could use it as a primary target for another blast attack. Yeah, absolutely. And because of some of the abilities that this team has, there's some incentives they have to stick together. Call the attack, right? Their ability to all dash, right? That's going to have them naturally want to be clumped up. And it just so happens that in order to use call the attack, the range of it is equal to a blast. Most blasts are 2 inches, and that has the same range. And there's counterplay on the goat side.
I think there's some really nasty combinations that you could do with that. Like if you have a model up on a vantage point, you kill somebody behind light cover. There's a bunch of models nearby. He has to flip to engage, and now all of a sudden, your grenader or something like that now can see that model, shoot your grenade, and hit all the models. Like it could be a detriment to your team as well. So I didn't even think about that. That's a fascinating thought.
But the great thing is, again, there's counterplay, right? So the shaman can activate Mantle of Darkness, and bam, now they have effectively Domino Field up. And so all that work you did to throw that guy on engage, thinking you were going to set up some cool combo, the goats can counterplay if they have the activation in between, and you're not doing some breacher move where you're doing a group activate or something like that. So just so many interesting combos in here. They're a really fascinating team.
Well, if you're flipped on engage, the shaman can't protect you because you're still on engage. But.
Oh, I thought the shaman's ability you had perma conceal regardless of your own order.
I thought because
I don't think it matters.
Yeah. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, it's Domino Field.
I thought if you were,
it's Domino Field, not small.
Forgive us, internet. We are all looking at tiny words that people posted on the internet.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that good.
It is. I'm looking at it right now. It is that good. This is Domino Field.
Oh.
This is not just if you have conceal, you definitely have conceal. This is you have conceal no matter what the little token says.
Domino Field from the
well, that
spell.
definitely changes how I play this team. That's interesting.
Also,
Sweet
Curse
Pray
Weapon
Love.
is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Curse Weapon from the same operative is quite good, where you can...
Every spell, first of all, I've wanted to see a Zangor shaman for a while, so I'm really happy we have some form of a shaman. All the spells are really, really neat, and this is again something I really like to see is spells that aren't damage spells. In fact, I'm really happy that this operative doesn't have any spell that's just a straight up attack. I really, really like that. I like my magic to be weird and funky, and every single spell that this guy has, to some degree, is some degree weird and funky. Probably the belle of the ball here is Curse Weapon to give a weapon hot. I think definitely you don't want to put this on a plasma to make it super hot. I think that's a little bit of a waste. I think you want to find whatever weapon your opponent has that has the most number of dice and throw it on that, right? So if you're fighting against legionaries, get it on that chain gun. It's going to be real hard for them to bypass that entirely, even though they do have ceaseless.
Or the Soul Reaper Cannon.
Or the Soul Reaper Cannon, exactly. If anyone's still playing Warp Coven, yeah.
I mean, that
Starstrider weapon, yeah. So many cool combos, and then that sort of is
with Scorn Their Ways.
Yes, I was about to. Yeah, Scorn Their Ways, so cool.
Punish plasma spam.
Yeah, literally choose a big gun of your opponent and get points from killing it. How fun is that? I mean, this entire team feels like this team feels like somebody played against Pathfinders and got really angry and decided to write an entire team just to host Pathfinders, and I'm here for it.
I am 1000% down for that. With the stinking blue-faced Xenos. They need to be purged. Inquisition coming out of me right there.
We need another -1 operative.
Even if it's by chaos, Yeah, another -1, please. Actually, it's just -2.
Yep.
While we're at it.
As much as I respect, as much as I respect Tau players, there's times where you're just kind of like we don't not dunk on them in this show, I guess.
Yeah.
Don't hate the Tau player, hate the Tau game.
I don't see any Tau people coming out here making shows, and if we did, we wouldn't listen to them.
Yeah, we'd let them talk till they're blue in the face.
Anyways.
Don't care. Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was bad. I know.
No, I like it. I like it.
That's too bad.
The Fellgor Mangler is probably one of my favorite models from their team, is because, between him and the big dude with the axe, I love how tanky and how mean this model is. He has 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, 4/6 damage, has Relentless, and has Tactual Hunter, which gives them Ceaseless. Am I right? and he gets to, if he hits with a crit, he automatically gets to crit again. Or it gets,
it's everything the Slanesh Legionaries wanted from their ploy that is almost good but not. The tactual hunter rule is so strong. I don't know where they got the word tactual from, but otherwise, it's a really cool ability. Another just maybe not so hidden gem of this team that I really appreciate is that there's one Fellgor sort of marked to each different Chaos God. And I love seeing that.
Really?
It's really neat seeing that included. The Herd Goat is the Slanesh one. The Toxhorn is the Nurgle one. The Flux Bray is the Zinch one. And then it's sort of your pick of the litter for the Corn one, with probably the maybe the Mangler being the
or the Vandal
there, or the Vandal
with the giant axe.
Or both. Clearly a lot of appreciation for Corn for this team. But I love seeing the different gods. Say again.
So the Gorehorn is definitely the Corn one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Good point.
Hold on, I gotta find this guy.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I love the fact
the
that
guy who levels up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, look.
Oh, Skull Cleaver. There you go.
Look at those brass. Yeah, the brass stuff. Yeah.
And so this is one of the ones. When I was talking about the fight twice, right? So this is one where you set this up with whipping him to give him the +1 APL, and then charges in, and he's doing 2 fight actions. And hopefully you have something where you strike on death or something to slow him down, because this is one of the ways you can really leverage having a frenzy during your own activation, and you're still able to get 2 fight actions out of it. And this is something where frenzy makes a huge difference during your own activation.
Yeah, and you could also have him start in close combat with something, kill it, then charge and kill it something again, as long as he got whipped earlier. So
yep.
I've seen a lot of AdMech players do that with their strategic.
Oh, the Ruststalkers. Yep.
Yeah, I hate.
Yeah,
that
and they also have a sort of a version of Corn Solidate, Ruthless Rampage, for some free charge actions as well. So they have a toolkit through a variety of sources to be able to leverage operatives that have 2 fight actions, and a savvy player will try to leverage that and sort of use the frenzy to get more mileage out of them. And the counterplay means you gotta have operatives with crits ready to go to stop these goats. Just really, really fascinating puzzle to deal with.
Yeah, and it's cool because this team is obviously, you want to shoot them. There's not a lot of teams I find that I can think of that can really deal with them hand blow to blow in close combat. Not even maybe Custodes, but I don't think they have the numbers for it. But
I think there's 2 teams that can actually handle the Gores in combat, and one of them is Custodes.
Okay.
The other one is one coming out of left field. I don't think people are putting much stock in right now, and that's Arbites. I think the Arbites shields and the glow sticks are actually a massive problem for the Gores to be able to get upfield properly, and the fact that they have the fight first in melee on those double parry guys really, really blunts the threat of the Gores charging.
I like that. You could just lock them up, and then you can arrest. No, you can't arrest them. They have 10 wounds.
Only the Castigator can arrest. Yeah,
you can arrest them.
The Castigator can.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I've seen a lot of people down on the Adeptus Arbites recently, and I think that this could bring them a little bit back into the meta, especially if we get heavy players playing a lot of the Fellgors. BAO is coming up next, right? I'm sure we're going to see a couple Fellgors at that event. I wonder if I wonder if somebody's going to bet on that and then bring Arbites. Could be fun and exciting.
I really couldn't say if anyone's scheming on that front.
So what's your list?
It's kind of like the very first BAO, right? I know LVO not the first LVO I attended, but when I attended LVO, everyone was saying that Pathfinders were the boogeyman. Everyone was going to bring Pathfinders. At least every YouTuber was saying that. And it turns out that at that time, I think Vetguard were a decent match into them. And it turned out that I think people figured that out, and a lot of Vetguard players brought them. And there was not very many Pathfinder players, and the Vetguard won the entire event, right? I mean, you know that. You played Vetguard. And then, Orion, you played Warp Coven, right?
Yep.
And you both had to play Ace?
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. And then Orion brought it back home for America. America.
Well, not
Yeah.
on that event, but
Later on, next year, the next year you did.
You had
The train,
the American
Wilfong
Revengeance. Yeah. No,
I mean, I still had his.
the meme wars of 2022. Never forget.
Never forget hashtag. Yeah. So
Rounding back though,
go
sorry.
for it.
I do feel like there's definitely some sauce with the exaction squad there into the Fellgors. The fact that you're shooting into melees, kind of breaking that safety bubble for a lot of the Fellgors. The shield guys, they're not. The exaction squad hasn't really been seeing a lot of play or a lot of like good places to be. But I think it's just going to be that team now that's just going to come out when people think the meta is just right to counter it. So they still have their hard matchups versus elites, but if elites aren't really seeing a lot of play compared to the goat wave that everybody's anticipating, although who knows because people can't get the darn goats.
That's true. You have
it's
to convert them, or
Zangors
you
are a
have to
good sub.
Definitely. Yeah.
maybe.
They're a sub. Are Zangors good though? Is the question.
That's true. So I think
They got horns and they're in the same book in AOS.
It's true.
Yeah, I know, but they're ugly.
I think the problem with the Zangor conversion process into these guys is that there is a ton of different types of models. And how would you differentiate the Mangler on a Zangor or the goat, the herd goat? Because there's only so few Zangor models that actually exist. I just feel like you would either be a task of love that you'd have to really make it so that each model is concise. That's another thing is like when you are converting, it's very important for you to make sure that your opponent knows unequivocally what your model is and what it is representing, right? You can't just come to a tournament and be like, well, I brought all Zangors and this is my gnarl scar, and be like, what the heck is a gnarl scar? It's like, oh, it's the dude with the metal. And then you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to show that.
I know exactly what you mean because I have kit bashed this entire team.
Have you?
Out of nothing. It wasn't just Zangors or anything. I completely made them out of multiple part kits. And everyone who's seen mine, they're like, wow, yeah, I know what that is. So it is doable, but it definitely takes some imagination for this team. Like with the War Gong, there's not too many models out there. They were just walking around giant trash can lids.
Uh-huh.
The whip guys, there's some options. Like I used a Tyranid arm. I think one of the zone thropes. I think I used one of its arms as like the whip.
Ooh, that's cool.
So like cool. There's a lot you can do with the team. Like I made a giant axe for the Gore Horn, the Tox Horn. I took like some of the biologist putrefiers, like potion Rex, and gave them some of the potions as like pox bombs. So you can do it pretty clear, and these things would work with the Zangors as well, because they have a lot of. I think they can have a lot of open hands if you need them to, if you cut shields off or stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely think Zangors, the kits are modular enough, and there's the exalted Zangors, the Zangor. I think Zangors have a shaman. There's a bunch of cool stuff. I think they're very kit bashable and do a really, really appropriate Beastman team.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the main point is if anyone's out there listening and you want to kit bash an army, just make sure that your opponent can tell what the model is. Because sometimes it would feel really bad to email a local TO and be like, hey, can I bring this team? And it's like, well, you can't really bring Cataphracti Terminators because I don't know what's what. You know what I mean? So, yeah. From a TO to players.
Yeah, definitely. And then, TOs a lot of the time are going to lean toward wanting to make sure everyone can play, right? That's generally, TOs want people to come to their events, and they're going to have a bias toward allowing your proxy teams, right? Because they want to see, and TOs usually think these proxy teams are really cool. Some of the problems actually turns into when you start setting down, against your opponent, and your opponent's getting confused. And now we're in a little bit of a weird situation where, the TO did formally approve the models, but you're creating a sort of a mental burden for your opponent that they have to carry. Mm-hmm. And so, I certainly, ran a few proxies in my day, right, at a Catachan Vet Guard. But I tried really, really hard to make it just incredibly obvious what every model was, and just so that there could be no ambiguity, even though I didn't use the official Krieg bits. I tried to make it just super, super obvious who everybody was.
So, Orion, is there a place that anyone can go and look at these specific models so they can see what an excellent job you did at converting them?
Oh, I haven't posted them yet. I know, like I said, I've showed you some of the pictures.
Mm-hmm. When you do eventually post them, when they're all finished, is there where would they be able to find them?
I'd probably just put them on one of the Discords, probably Command Point or something.
Okay, cool.
I don't know. I was planning on just not posting them at all because I was just going to show them, in tournaments and whatnot. And if people liked them, they'd like them. But I mean, if it's something people would be interested to see, I would definitely post it.
Absolutely, you can always post them in the Squad Games Discord as well.
I am. You know what? It's going to be sacrilege. I know. I am not in the Squad Games Discord.
You will be after this one. No, but
yeah, Manuel's in that Discord, man.
As am I. I post all my trade secret top tier competitive tips. So I only post them in Squad Games. Now,
just in time for AVTT.
Yes. Now, do these tips revolve exclusively around the Nacho deployment type name? Yes. But those are still competitive tips.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I think the last time we had all of us on the same call was during the Kill Team Open podcast when we were talking about that. I've forgotten, other than Chris Baki's wrong assumption that it's Nacho deployment. What was yours, Orion?
I typically defer to Nacho, I think.
Oh my God.
Pizza is the deployment that I'll refer to as well.
Okay.
Pizza deployment.
If Doritos, shout out to Doritos, all those head executives that listen to this podcast, the Tapatio Dorito is amazing. Have either one of you had that?
It's a top tier.
I haven't had Doritos in a long time.
Well, if you do.
Really?
Doritos could officially become the Dorito deployment if they would just sponsor this podcast.
If Doritos did sponsor this podcast, I would allow it. That would be for the greater good.
Same thing with Domino's. Yeah. I'm just saying. Domino pizza deployment. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Domino pizza, that's clunky though. I mean, the Dorito deployment, you got some alliteration there, right? You got some legs to stand on.
We already have Domino's already sponsors one of the teams in the game, so you don't also need a deployment.
Do they?
Yeah, boy dancers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. He couldn't help himself.
I still don't get it, but that's okay.
Domino Field.
Oh, damn it. That's so good.
It's no, don't reward bad behavior.
Don't encourage him. It's awful.
No, I like it.
What you balking about?
Oh!
Oh, man. I'm sure that's not the first time he's heard that one.
Sadly not.
Oh, no. Guys, don't feed the wildlife, please.
It's also not like the first time that Orion's ever seen a meme of a train of himself running over Spain. Amazing.
There's a particular man who really likes that meme. I love him dearly for it.
It was a little awkward because those memes started coming up when after the New Mexico event ended, we all went out to dinner together.
Uh-huh.
And the memes started rolling in, the very extreme, country rivalry stuff. And it was just a little awkward at dinner where we're all trying to smile and hug and talk about, good times. And we're just getting, our phones are being lit up by some very, very vulgar memes.
Well, I think the worst part was Sheldon had preemptively posted those.
Yeah, he did. He did before the match even happened. He started posting them.
It was like, no pressure, bro.
And then after I won, he's like, "Oh, thank God he won! I was about to eat so much shit."
Yeah, I mean, high risk, high reward gameplay right there.
Yeah. Now I interviewed you both. Me and Giacomo interviewed you both about the narrative event last year, and Orion already has a golden ticket. Mr. Baki, you got to get one.
Oh,
I
no.
I do
rematch.
not have a golden ticket. I've this year I've been just super focused so far on TOing events, and so
Well, there's only been two events so far, right? There's only been two.
Well, no, there's I guess just KTO and Warhammer World, right? Are those the only two so far?
And LVO.
No, there was
Warhammer Fest. Sorry, Warhammer
Adepticon.
Fest.
And LVO. That's so I think.
And,
it's just-
and LVO, yes.
Adepticon, right? Wasn't there a Adepticon?
Oh, Adepticon.
Yeah, so
Adepticon,
there's
Warhammer
been a
Fest,
few.
LVO.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a couple.
So no, I'm gonna have to
Who won
get on
Adepticon?
that.
Does anyone know who won Adepticon?
Didn't Leander?
Yeah, Leander.
Yeah, it was Leander. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The Garrett.
The boys coming for Spain.
The menace.
Yeah, the plasma.
Yeah, I
Spain.
definitely love to make it to Atlanta for sure. But definitely the kill team playing field has just gotten a lot more competitive, and I'm gonna have to find my way to an event with a golden ticket and do really well too. So we'll see.
I believe you can. You're definitely good enough, and I would love to watch a stream of the rematch. I got to see you both play at LVO.
I'm definitely looking forward to my next game against Orion. Our game, Orion, at LVO was fantastic. And in hindsight, I'm so sad it wasn't streamed because that was one of the best games of Kill Team I felt that I ever played. And you definitely pulled a lot of moves on me too that just were you surprised me a lot. At the time, I didn't like it, but it was a fantastic game. And I look back on the game a lot and just smile.
Yeah, so during the end of that game, Chris was not happy at all because he realized, because he was pretty sure he was going to lose. And then when we tied, like just a wave of happiness. It was like, oh my God, this was the best scenario. This was great. And I was like, okay, yeah, you were like very sad a second ago, so I got to take a minute to adjust to this.
No, it was really fun TOing because like when the rules questions came up around your guys' tables, you guys would answer them for me, and I was like, It was really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing the two of you play, and hopefully, if you guys play the next event, AVTT will be streamed along with all of my tournaments. And for Ryan, if you are coming back to LVO, obviously, you are.
Well, I'll make you a promise on Baki's behalf.
Okay.
If we end up playing at one of your events again, we'll go on the stream table.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll co-sign. Nice. I think definitely during LVO I had the jitters because it was only game 3, and of that many games, that early into it, I wasn't feeling the stream yet. But no, I'll commit. When I'm at AVTT or any other event with Orion, I'll make sure we go on together.
Cool. Sounds good. There might be some opportunities after AVTT that I might try to pull some people for like a celebrity match. If you guys don't end up playing, maybe there might be something happening on Sunday. I guess the listeners will have to tune into our stream to find out. But we might just be so tired that we might just go eat instead.
Yeah, it's a pretty
good.
It's pretty exhausting, and definitely, we may not have a whole lot of agency, Orion, and if we actually get to play each other during the event, because no doubt our teams will clash, but we only have so much control over who plays who. So,
yeah, I mean, I'd be down for a celebrity match or a really, really late kill team game like we did the last time at Nova, where just all the rules were broken.
I remember that. Yeah. What
happened in this matchup? Tell us.
I barely even remember it, but I remember go ahead.
Yeah, so he technically cheated, but he technically didn't, fortunately for the team he took.
Okay.
Where I was playing Warp Coven, he was playing Blooded, and this was like at 12 o'clock at night after like trying to get everything set up. And, Chris was forced to TO this event essentially, which he did happily. But he really wanted to get a game in. So we were playing late at night.
And stream it.
We were playing late at night, and we just set up, and I throw a bunch of goats under, not the new goats, I guess the Zangors. I threw a bunch of Zangors under a building, and one was sticking out just a little bit, just a tiny bit. And he makes this move where he charges into that Zangor, and doesn't do anything to it with one of his blooded guys, and then proceeds to throw the bomb into that combat. And I'm not thinking anything of it. He just threw it. He didn't spend any CP or anything. He just shot into the melee combat. I was like, cool. And I just didn't even let him roll. I just took all of the Zangors off the table. And I'm like, cool, man. All right, so next activation. And he's like, you want to roll for him? I'm like, nope, I don't. And but then I'm sitting here like, Chris, you couldn't. How did you shoot into combat, buddy? And like, you know, I didn't know Blooded too well at the time, so he's just breaking down because he completely forgot that he just shot into combat as well. And
yeah, I was after you're like dejected, like, oh my god, what have I done? I just ruined this game, like cursing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then fortunately, because he was playing Blooded, he's like, wait, no, I can do this. And he spent the CP, and we talked about it. Uh-huh. But it was a very strange interaction up until that point.
I think what must have happened, I must have been just so tired and sleep deprived, like my subconscious was on autopilot trying to do the move, but then I forgot why I could do it in the first place by the time like that conversation came up. Because I was in a very bad mood because I had spent, I think 5 hours trying to get the AV system working, and it still wasn't working properly. And it was super late at night, and I was just, incredibly beat from travel and everything else. And so, yeah, I was not thinking straight.
Yeah, no, it was just very hilarious though, because you could have just thrown it normally, but instead you decided to charge a blooded model in and then get him to die.
I had initiative. That's the thing. Like I could have just thrown the grenade.
And he's like, no, I want a blooded to die too. He's like,
it must have been because I knew about the whole thing of like daisy chaining the splash. Like I think my subconscious remembered the trick, but I forgot why.
That's totally fair. Especially after a long day. That's another thing that everyone has to remember that Orion once told me is that you always have to give your opponents grace, and then they will give you grace in return, right? Because it is just a game of Warhammer. So, that is one of the things that he said that I will always take with me, and I always try and tout to everyone because he's a very wise player. So even if your opponent messes up, sometimes that's okay. And even if they actually didn't mess up, that's also okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to this, right? I want to win a game of Kill Team, against my opponent and the way they actually played. I don't want to win a game of Kill Team because there was a technicality or they forgot something, or they just tripped, right? Like that to me isn't really a win, right? That's just tabulating points in BCP, and your points happen to be greater than your opponent's points. But that to me isn't really a win, right? A win is actually besting your opponent, making better moves than they did, and sometimes getting better luck. And that's the kind of games I want to win, and the games I like to lose, too, because it sucks to lose because there was some sort of gotcha or thing you didn't know. And one thing I see, the higher up in top tables, people are actually being more graceful with each other, and actually allowing more takebacks than at lower tables, which is just something interesting.
Yeah, especially go ahead.
As long as dice haven't been rolled, and we're at a point where we can't go back, I'm really not too worried about it. If you say something's like a final answer, like, all right, I'm moving this guy here, your go, and then I haven't done anything yet, and you're like, oh, but wait, maybe I need to change that. It's reasonable. Like there's no reason we can't let people take things back if it really hasn't impacted the game to the point where you can't go back.
Yeah. There's no you take your plasma shot and you whiff, and then you're like, on second thought, I actually don't think I want to shoot the plasma. Like, no. No. You've boarded the train at this point. But exactly, you want to be playing the game your opponent is playing with you. And that's, that to me is definitely really important and a core part of sportsmanship. And you'll have a much better time playing Kill Team if you approach your opponent that way and then let them approach you the same way. You'll have a much better time, I promise.
Well, you're stuck at the table with them for like 2 hours. So, I mean,
yep.
Yeah, you better be likable.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So real quick, guys, what are your thoughts in terms of tier where these two teams will fall?
You want to go first, Orion?
Sure. So, I mean, I think Fellgor, very strong team. And I think in the right hands, it will feel oppressive. But I think a lot of teams feel that way as well. Like, Vekard at their prime play were the most oppressive thing feeling. So I would still put the Fellgors in S, but I don't think everyone's going to be able to take them to S. Much like Vetguard, where you really have to know what you're doing. You have to have your ideas. I mean, maybe A if you really don't think S is. Some people have some weird stuff about S, but I would put it probably as one of the highest skill teams, just because I think it has all the tools it needs to succeed if a good player plays it. Votann, I'm not sure. I would definitely put them up in A just because the amount of options they have can't be underestimated. And they can do some really cool stuff. I mean, you just have a gun for everything. So, and they can, in theory, just automatically work with grudge tokens. So it's not even like the guns are questionable. So that's where I'd put them.
Yeah, I'm more or less on the same page as Orion. I definitely think that Fellgor is, among, if not the most powerful faction in the game right now. But not by a mile, right? This is more by an inch. And I think they're around the same power, if not slightly weaker, maybe, than release Gellerpox. Back with the Glitchlings having the full range aura, back with getting all the CP from the leader, and back with the 5-up Feel No Pain on the mutants. I think Fellgor are at about that same level of this, potentially oppressive melee threat in the right hands with good resource allocation. At least A tier, top of A tier minimum, and in all likelihood S tier. They're going to have some wildly variable matchups, depending on who they're going into, but so do Gellerpox, right? That's very, very similar. On the Votann, I think I'm a little less hot on them. I love the utility that they have. I think their lack of any meaningful melee is going to keep them from, in my mind, being A tier. So I think they'll be bouncing on B tier and be sitting solidly and comfortably in the middle of the pack with the vast majority of teams in the game, and they're going to podium every once in a while with a really good pilot.
I would
Solid
have to
answers.
say for myself, I would say that I think Votann would probably be an A. I actually like them quite a lot. I think they have a lot of really fun play, and I have not seen any shooty horde team be bad. So I think that they have a lot of really cool tricks up their sleeves, and I think they could be a solid A team. I think that they might be difficult to get there, like you guys said, and I think Fellgor is A. I don't know if they're S tier. I don't know if they're top of the list because I see a few like possible glaring issues, especially with not everyone might not be able to take them to that point. I think that maybe like the peak performance, they could definitely be S tier, but solid A. And I think that they're going to be a team that's difficult to pilot as well. So
Yeah, for sure. I don't think many players will be able to take them to that S tier category. Just as most players can't take Vetguard and Pathfinders there.
yes,
I would still
absolutely.
solidly maintain that Pathfinders and Vetguard are the two strongest teams in the game. Or at least bouncing around in S tier. But it there's a rare pilot nowadays that can bring them there.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that those two teams are probably the top of the tables still to this day.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Vetguard for me especially, like Pathfinders can be questionable because of Into the Dark really changed them and they've taken a lot of nerfs. So like you can argue about Pathfinders. But Vetguard have not taken a single hit besides the generic grenade nerf that hit everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've never lost their power. And I know you can ask Poland, and that is their team. Their meta is pretty much dominated by Vetguard with like a 90% win rate.
Wow.
So it's I think that team's still up there for sure. And looking at everything else,
definitely a very good team. I do think there's some counterplay that can take a while to develop with the team too. And like many teams in Kill Team, once you get the right counterplay approach, there's ways it can be mitigated.
Yeah,
you just got to figure it all out. You got to play it.
Void Dancers into Vetguard and Into the Dark. It's not a fun time.
No, does not sound like it.
It's not a fun time. I'm still scarred from that. I'm going to make every single Melt-A-Gun save. Oh!
That's nice.
Awesome. Thanks. Fucking bastards. You damn Xenos. Just die.
you flew over the mine and now you stabbed my demo. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
Cool.
No, I think even Harlequins are up there. I think they're probably A tiers, but I think that they're also a very hard team to get right. And there's only so many really top players, right? So those players pick their specific teams, perhaps because of what they like, and they're going to guide whatever team that they like to those upper echelons, right? So sometimes when you guys see tier lists from YouTubers, you don't necessarily want to believe everything you see.
Oh, for sure. Like especially on the Void Dancer point, Matt H has been maining those clowns and just dominating and doing super well, but there's just no chatter about them because so few really top players actually run them. And when they do, they achieve amazing results. But there's so many teams of the game now that even top players and people who are chasing the meta or just chasing their passions have all spread out now to a bunch of different areas. There's just so much variety out there, and I will maintain, even with these two new teams, that the kill team meta is healthier than it's ever been.
Yeah. So
Agreed.
We've pretty much gone over this, but I want to give one final conclusion upon if you guys think the GOATs have broken the game, as the internet seems to think it has. From two top players and TOs, what is your guys' final conclusions about them breaking the game, supposedly?
You can go first, Chris.
Saying the team breaks the game is gross hyperbole. They are definitely strong. There are some really interesting counterplay. And I think there's some specific nuanced rules interactions that could use a cleanup. I wouldn't think that would affect anyone's ability to run them in the interim. You just got to be, pretty considered about which tac ops you take against them. Things like eliminate guards still basically work just as they did before. So, don't oversell what this team is and is not doing.
Mr.
Yeah,
Orion?
I mean, I don't think the GOATs have broken the game necessarily. Again, they're really good, and it will change the way you play. Some players will not just be able to adapt to that concept and play, differently just because they're playing against a different team. And yeah, it's going to be hard for people. To those people, much like Harlequins, when Harlequins just decimated everybody because they didn't change their play style, that does break the game. So you do have to look at the average players who are playing the game, maybe a lot less or maybe like once a week, something like that. So it could be considered there. From the top level play, I haven't seen a lot of top level players really going crazy about it, demanding changes. And if I generally trust those players, so if they're not saying too many things or voicing concerns, I think they'll be okay.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of look at it like a rock, paper, scissors, right? So like, cops. So the GOAT wave has come. The GOAT wave is here, right? Then we have the cops that come in and beat the GOAT wave. And then we have the intercessors that come in and beat the cops. And then we have the pathfinders that come in and beat the intercessors. And then you have the GOAT wave come back and beat the pathfinders.
Did you add 2 rocks at one point?
I think it's pretty healthy for the game. I'm excited, more excited than ever to play this game.
I mean, that's spoken like a true Kill Team
Agreed.
18 player, because that's what happened in the old edition. Metas, there were teams that were too strong, and then people figured out the counter, and everybody played the counter, and all of a sudden the counter was great, and then the new counter for the counter came out, and we went this cycle where it wasn't necessarily bad. It was just the meta was always shifting because we were countering the next counter.
Mm-hmm.
And so far Kill Team has been in this field where a lot of teams are kind of the same, and you didn't really need to counter them specifically.
True.
You didn't need to list tailor towards them specifically. Now you probably will see that.
Speaking of list tailoring, Inquisition, the Spanish Inquisition has come. That's what I heard all day long at the Ren Fair, and that brings us right back to the Inquisitor team that can tailor the best out of any other team coming out. So excited.
Mm-hmm, you are excited.
Oh yeah, no team will have access to as much cool stuff as the Inquisition will. The Inquisition without the ancillary assets, they're going to have like 10 specialists in there, right? That's its own bespoke team already.
Yeah. It's going to be so exciting. I'm very excited to run a castigator. That's what his name is. I just brain farted.
What does he do?
The candle and pistol guy.
Yeah, the candle pistol dude. He's the right hand man, the guy that's training to become an inquisitor. They have a
And he's
specific name
the
in lore.
leader of the team, right? The
Correct.
not confessor,
Yeah.
condemner. I don't remember.
There's a guy from
I don't remember either.
The Raveners. Basically, in the Ravener series, that was one of the main characters. Was a guy trying to become an inquisitor. I'm excited to be able to play one of those. I was disappointed that we didn't get the inquisitor, but this is just as good. You break the game. This team's going to break the game, my guys. No, it's not. But I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Part of me was, is hoping for some sort of like Puritan versus radical thing, and we'll see what we get.
Oh my lord, that would be so cool.
It would. I didn't see a demon host anywhere though, which is a little bit of a bummer. But I guess the Chaos Cult team will scratch that itch.
Speaking of that, we're going to get an Eisenhorn team in the annual. Do you know how cool that would be? Oh man, I was just about to mention excited.
You weren't supposed to bring that up, Dakotah.
We're gonna get Eisenhorn. We'll get.
Now you're gonna get
Beckwin.
fired.
Yeah, we're gonna get all the crazy. It's gonna be good. I'm excited.
No, it's an Urgle team. 10 Urgles, just running around.
Oh man,
I thought you said like Steve Urkel for a second.
Now that's a team.
That is a team.
Because he has a bunch of different costumes in that show, man.
He does. He's the future of Kill Team, Steve Urkel.
No doubt.
Yeah,
That's what the annual is. It's just
full
all
of Steve Urkels.
Yep.
I'm here for it.
You know what's funny is a lot of people that are probably listening don't even know who Steve Urkel is. They're gonna go up and they're gonna, search it on Google and they're gonna be like, "Who is the Steve Urkel?" And then they're gonna see a picture of him and they're like, "I don't get it." But we do, and that's what matters. Is Steve Urkel the future of Kill Team? Yes.
Many consider the future of Kill Team, according to Dakotah Lester.
Yeah. The TO of LVO. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
He makes it law, so. Well, looks like we're getting to that time, guys.
Of life, the cops, the law, right?
Oh,
Yep.
Sorry.
That
was it, G. You can end the episode. Go for it. I'm just rambling. I have heat stroke from the.
Do you guys have anything you want to plug?
In my kilt, in my glasses.
Oh, drink some water.
I'll plug the Bay Area Open coming up Memorial Day weekend in beautiful San Francisco. If you want to join myself, Sheldon Steer, Kill Team Stream, and a bunch of some of the most wonderful folks you'll ever meet in Northern California, come join us. Bats putting on the Bay Area Open. It's going to be a fantastic time. 2 days of sweaty, wonderful, charming Kill Team action, a mix of outside and in the dark, and more fun than you'll ever have again.
How about you, Orion?
Hard to follow up.
I will plug Dakotah Luster.
Woo, that guy,
yeah, he's a great guy. He makes great terrain. He's a smart feller, not a fart smeller. I'll tell you what. Check out his
on Tuesdays.
Whoa!
Check out his podcast. It's pretty cool.
Appreciate you, brother. I'm gonna shout out Orion's brother because I love his shirts. Leviath Apparel. It's awesome.
They are fantastic shirts. They are made ethically. They're not outsourced from like other countries or sweatshops.
Mm-hmm.
They're made of high quality materials. You're going to get what you pay for. He does commissions. So yeah, take a look at it. See what you want.
I have commissioned one from him myself, so I'm quite excited. How
I
about you, G?
Well, you can find us. We're on the Squad Games Discord. You can always join us there. Have a discussion there. You can find us on YouTube now as well. It's Squad Games. We're on there now. So we also put our our podcast episodes on there. So you can catch that there. And you can find me on Instagram at wargaming_studios. That's where I do painting stuff. And that's where you can find me.
There's one last thing. One very last thing. Giacomo, what have you been working on all day? You've been working on something very, very special to us.
I have. I've been editing a video for the last, 6 hours. And you can catch that video coming up on Tuesday, or at least the same day as this releases, as you're listening to
That's
it.
exciting.
It's
going to be on YouTube, fellas and ladies.
Shout out to future me listening to this. I can't wait to watch it today.
Yeah.
And where can I find this content?
Oh, there you go.
It's going to be Squad Games on YouTube. Is it Squad Games Entertainment or is it Squad Games? We'll put the link in the.
I believe we're just Squad Games. We'll have the link. Yeah. Yeah, links. And the links will be on our Discord.
Mm-hmm.
You know where to find us. And right before we go, be sure to check out the next part of the narrative mission right now.
Chapter 1, Mission 2, Search and Retrieve.
You've discovered the landing site, but it appears the escape pod crash landed. The status of the survivors, if there are any, is unknown. There may be a picked recording of the events of the Emperor's bounding, or more information of the strange Xenos that infiltrated the ship. A detailed manifest of the secret cargo could also be among the wreckage. You must find this information before anyone else.
Congratulations on completing Mission 1 from Chapter 1, Reconnoiter. You've scouted out the terrain of the moon of Oxygen 4 and have located the crash site of the escape pods from the Emperor's bounty. The escape pods have broken up upon impact and created 3 scrap piles for you to search in this mission. Please read through the mission rules so you know what the objectives are in this mission. In addition to the regular rules, remember, if you score 3 or more victory points from Recon TAC Ops, you gain an additional requisition point. Also, if at any point in the battle, if a friendly operative finds or controls the relic, you gain 1 additional requisition point. If you perform the Search for Relic mission on all 3 scrap piles, you can add 1 piece of rare equipment to your stash. In addition, at the end of the battle, if a friendly operative is carrying the relic and is in your drop zone, then in the next mission, you can reroll the Choose Attacker or Defender dice or 1 initiative dice in the next battle. Also, remember, you can still use those bonus TAC Ops to gain extra experience for your operatives. Please let us know how this mission went, or if you were able to find the relic, or if you were able to eliminate your opposition. Again, you can find all of these mission rules at tabletop-highlander.wordpress.com or posted in the Squad Games Discord. Tell us how you did, and look forward to seeing the next mission. This is Rob from Tabletop Highlander signing out.
And there you have it. Another new part of the mission for y'all to play around with. And thanks, everybody, for listening. I want to shout out our patrons. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and I really appreciate them. Until next time, guys.